Have you ever been to an orchard that looks like this? I want you to understand why they're like this. You see the top of my hand? You see the top of my trees? You see the connection? See, I read in Genesis that God created us to have dominion. Do you hear me? God created this amazing planet, and He says, I'm going to create human beings to have dominion over everything we made. If you look at these trees, they have the position and appearance of being humbly under dominion. Look how they're all bent over, bowing down to me. They're in dominion. I have dominion over them. I totally am in control. And you know what's interesting? This is so hilarious from an agriculture point of view. Is you know why I prune my trees open? I'm trying to reduce the amount of fruit I get. I'm trying to reduce my, but it's not working. And I'm having a hard time because God just tends to ignore me. When I ask for less, He just ignores me. And He just, I mean, look at these trees. I mean, you can see there's hardly anything there as far as foliage. The branches are total, and they're just loaded with fruit. Everything's just heavy. It's like, man, I'd like to get a little bit less. But He doesn't cooperate. He's just so into abundance that He just does that because that's what He does. So I just want to encourage you that you can get so much better quality fruit by pruning open and keeping your trees small than by letting them go. You know how God says His ways aren't our ways? He thinks opposite we do. You see, we look at pruning as a subtraction. God looks at it as multiplication. I'm serious. You see it in John 15. He says, I'm the vine, you're the branch, my Father is the vine dresser, and He prunes the tree for what purpose? So they bear more fruit. I love that. And I'm telling you from experience, there's nothing that will make a tree grow better than cutting it. It's phenomenal. Cutting makes things grow so much better than anything else. Fertilizer will never compete with pruning, ever. It is phenomenal.
What do you do do you have deer around?
I have deer, and this is why I've just got a new dog, and I'm really praying that she's going to work because we used to have Labradors here, and they were really effective, but my last one died, and this new one I just got is just, she hasn't quite got it yet. And last year, those deer took every leaf off my trees. But you know what God showed me through that process? Here's the thing I'm learning that, the word says in verse 5, 17, 18, in everything give thanks. In everything give thanks. This is the will of God in Christ Jesus. You know what He told me about what I saw? Is if it ever got tough here, I could live on the leaves of my trees. They would feed me. I'm serious. The deer ate all the leaves because they were nutrient dense, and they got it. Now you see, I would have never thought of eating apple leaves, but that opened up to me that the option is there. That's good food. I would have never thought of that, but the deer taught me that. And so I learned that now, so I'm going to try to keep them out of here in the future because I like leaves on my trees. And it's so nice. When I had those dogs before, I tell you, they never touched a thing. And I'm thinking, someone just gave us this really beautiful male. What's that dog's breed? Nick. You two.
I know.
Anyway, it's
Like a collie.
no, it's a
The dog.
they're a livestock protecting dog.
Pyrenees?
Pyrenees,
Yeah.
Great Pyrenees, yeah. We got a male Pyrenees today, and it was so interesting when I went to their place. They have them, and in the field they have sheep and llamas, and they got this major garden and fruit trees, and there's nothing touched by a deer, and it was so impressive. Like, yeah, and it was so amazing how they just gave us this incredible, beautiful dog, just like it was such a gift from heaven. Thank you, God. So I'm really looking forward to having my trees safe from deer again.
Did he not come out here with the other dogs?
Well, this dog, this is what impressed me, is in a fenced area, completely away from the garden and orchard, but because of her presence, the deer don't come near. They're created to be livestock protectors, and when they bark, there's something about it that impacts anything that wants to come, that keeps them out. So it's just, again, the evidence was powerful. I'm walking by all this produce, totally leaves, nothing touched by deer. And she didn't have to tell me they don't come here. I mean, I'm seeing it because if deer were, she lives in the woods. There's deer around, and they've eaten that, but they didn't because those dogs kept them away. So I'm really looking forward to that nice change.
How did you
you choose your tree varieties? Was it just preference of taste, or was it nutrition?
Preference of taste, shelf life, nutrition, all of it. I think nutrition is all good and everything. And you know what's so interesting about my trees? People always ask me, what's your favorite apple? My answer is the last one I ate. Because all my trees, my fruit is really good. And they're all different. You need to buy apples today from the store, they all taste the same, bland nothing.
Yeah.
Every one of my apples is off the charts, amazing flavor, and they're all different.
I could eat an apple.
I have people coming in and they eat an apple and I says, try this. Wow, this is totally different. I says, yeah, it's supposed to be. And they're just blowing out at the qualities. But the creator's not boring. He's not static. Everything is unique and beautiful. But in our culture, we're satisfied with static, dead nothing because that's all we know. So if you're around in late September when I'm doing tours, my apples are off the charts. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just telling you what I'm told and what I experience. They're amazing. If you want to taste some amazing apples, you should come by because they're just really, really good. And again, it's, you know, here's the old adage, you are what you eat. It's such a reality. Everything is what they eat. Your health, your life, the flavor of food is all indicative of what they're eating. And I want you just to see the power of it. Take these wood chips where you are and move them away. When you get down to the dark stuff, pick it up and smell it. So I want you to see something interesting. Now smell that. You see there's a sweet smell. Now I want to tell you something interesting. If you go to organic farms, I'm speaking organic farms, and you pick up their soil, there's absolutely no odor because there's no minerals. That odor is the odor of minerals. Minerals are sweet. And you see, this is why my food tastes sweet, because they're eating sweet minerals. I'm just telling you this, it's so simple, it's so obvious, and it's so pathetic how we as intelligent beings don't connect the dots. And you see, organic farmers, all they're putting back is NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's all farmers do. But there's way more minerals than that in life. And in this environment, they're all here. And that's why my food tastes so good, because it gets all the mineral components that create the delicious flavor. That's way more than the 3 that you get everywhere else.
Do you cut those bottom branches off in the winter?
Those are not bottom branches. Those are root shoots coming up from the rootstock, and I pull them out. Here's what's wrong with cutting them. Everybody hear me. When you cut those, you get 4 back because you just pruned it. So what I do, I come out with my asparagus knife and I go down to the root it's coming off of, and I break it off at the root. And I reduce the volume coming back. Again, it's just, I mean, these principles are so simple. You see where people hack trees off? At every place they end, they get all these suckers coming out. Congested mess. What's up with that? And while we're there, let me just show you something interesting here. On pruning, all the books are wrong. They tell you in all the pruning books, never cut the collar. You following me? All pruning books say, do not cut the collar. What the collar is, when you're coming off a branch, you see a branch coming off, you'll see like a round circle there. That's the collar. And all the books say, don't cut the collar. But when you see when they cut beyond the collar, what happens? You get all kinds of suckers coming out, big old massive brush, and then at the cut, because the collar can't grow over it, it dies and becomes a cavity and you get a hole in your tree. I want you to look at my trees and notice I have no cavities. I want you to notice that all the cuts I've made, how beautifully they've healed. Because when you cut at the collar grows over the cut and heals it. You know what the Creator showed me when I asked him where to cut? The Creator has a very interesting sense of humor. You know, he told me, I made a line, cut to the line. I tell you, God made it so simple for us, so easy, and we don't get it. I made a line, cut to the line. It's so clear. And here we're out there, oh no, don't cut that, cut beyond it, make a mess. It's like, it's so cool. Now let me show you something about pruning too. You know, most you go to most orchards, and you see all these upright shoots cluttering the tree. Here's the stupidity of that. Where on the apple tree is fruit being born? On upright branch or lateral branches? So what's the point of letting all those upright shoots grow? They're taking energy from the tree, they're shading your fruit, and they're reducing your production. So what I do all summer long, I'll just show you right here, is I walk through my orchard with my hands, no pruners, and when little shoots develop, I rub them off. Watch this. You'll see the centers of all my trees have no shoots because I do this. You see over here where one's developing? Watch how I do it. And here's the beauty of it. You see, I leave no mark. There's no wound. And you see, by taking that off, I keep this space open for light to come in. All the energy that would create this long stem and wood and leaves is going now into the fruit that I want to keep. Again, the math is so simple. And it's so pathetic how we let all these suckers grow. We're going to cut off in the winter, depriving our tree, and let it happen. So all summer long, you just walk in the orchard, just rub your trees, just stroke them, keep them all nice and clean, and you get much nicer fruit, and everything's accessible, and your pruning is really reduced. Now I like to let some of this stuff grow in the center because, or out on the ends, because I want people to see. I can show one. These are all dwarf trees. You know, dwarf trees are dwarf because they want to be. I have dwarf trees putting on. We're talking like wood that thick, and 6 feet in 1 year. It's like totally mind-boggling. It's just like they're not acting like they're dwarf because they're eating well. It's just this challenge of abundance can really be an issue sometimes. I'm serious. You know, see, my challenge is stopping growth, trying to contain it, not to get it to grow. It's just so different. But it's almost fun at that level because it's like, wow, so much. You know?